My name is Ethan Walker. I'm 38 years old, and 3 years ago, my family laughed so hard at me that my uncle nearly spilled his beer across the Thanksgiving table. The reason? I had just spent every dollar I owned on a dying farm in rural Kansas. You're kidding, right? My older brother Ryan asked. Nope. Dad shook his head and muttered, "You always were the dreamer." The entire table erupted with laughter. According to them, I had thrown away my future. The property was 120 acres of dry soil, a collapsing red barn, and a farmhouse that looked like it might surrender to gravity at any moment. The previous owner had died, the land hadn't produced a profitable crop in years, and everyone in town considered it worthless. But I saw something different. Maybe it was stubbornness. Maybe it was hope. Or maybe I was simply tired of spending my life proving myself to people who had already decided I would fail. Growing up, Ryan was the golden child. Ryan made varsity football? Future star. Ryan dropped out of college? Entrepreneurial spirit. Ryan lost $50,000 in a failed business? Bad luck. Meanwhile, every success I had came with criticism attached. Got promoted at work? About time. Bought my first house? Hope you can afford it. Nothing was ever enough. So when I quit my corporate job and bought that farm, my family treated it like the punchline of a joke. For months, they sent me memes about bankrupt farmers. Ryan called me Old MacDonald. Even Mom asked if I had considered getting a real career. But every morning before sunrise, I walked those fields. I repaired fences, rebuilt irrigation lines, studied soil reports, worked until my hands bled. And slowly, something began to happen. The land started coming back to life. What nobody knew was that a massive opportunity was about to appear just beyond my property line. And within a year, the same family that mocked me would be begging for a piece of what I owned. The first sign came on a cold March morning. I was repairing a fence near the northern edge of my property when I noticed several trucks parked on neighboring land. Men in hard hats were taking measurements and placing survey markers into the ground. At first, I didn't think much about it. A week later, they were back. Then again the following week. Curious, I stopped at the county office and asked a few questions. The clerk hesitated before answering. Didn't you hear? A major renewable energy company is looking at this area. My heart skipped a beat. Over the next month, rumors spread throughout the county. $1 billion solar energy project was being planned, and hundreds of acres would be needed for the development. Most people ignored the gossip. I didn't. Instead, I attended every public meeting I could find, read every report available, and talk to anyone willing to share information. The more I learned, the more excited I became. The proposed transmission route crossed directly through my land. Suddenly, that worthless farm wasn't so worthless anymore. 6 months later, representatives from the energy company knocked on my door. They offered me a long-term lease worth more money than I had earned during my entire corporate career. I tried to stay calm while reviewing the paperwork. Inside, I was shaking. The deal would eliminate my debts, secure my future, and allow me to keep ownership of the farm. When the contract became public, news traveled fast. Very fast. And almost overnight, the people who had spent years laughing at me started calling. The first call came from Ryan. For the first time in years, he sounded unusually friendly. "Little brother," he said warmly, "we should get together. Family needs to stick together." The moment I heard those words, I knew trouble was coming. Because in my family, family comes first usually meant someone wanted something from me. Within days, my phone became impossible to ignore. Ryan called 3 times a day. My aunt sent long messages about how proud she was of me. Even cousins I hadn't spoken to in years suddenly remembered my birthday. It was almost impressive how quickly everyone changed. The real surprise came Sunday afternoon when my parents invited me to dinner. The same house where my farm had been mocked for years now felt strangely welcoming. Mom hugged me at the door. Dad actually smiled. Ryan arrived 20 minutes later carrying expensive steaks and acting like we were best friends. Something was wrong. Halfway through dinner, I found out what it was. Ryan cleared his throat and leaned forward. "So, I've been thinking." That sentence alone made me nervous. He continued, "With your new income, this is the perfect time for us to go into business together." I nearly laughed. "What kind of business?" "A land investment company." Of course. Ryan pulled out charts, numbers, and grand plans. According to him, all he needed was a small startup investment. Just $250,000. The room went silent. Then Dad spoke. "Seems reasonable." Reasonable? 3 years earlier these same people had called me foolish for buying the farm. Now they wanted $250,000. When I politely declined, Ryan's smile disappeared. "You've changed, Ethan." "No," I replied calmly. I finally stopped letting people use me. The temperature in the room instantly dropped. But things became much worse 2 weeks later. One evening, my attorney called. His voice sounded unusually serious. "Ethan, I think you need to come to my office tomorrow." "Why?" There was a long pause. Then he said words that made my stomach turn. "Someone is claiming partial ownership of your farm." And the name on the paperwork was Ryan Walker. I barely slept that night. By 8 a.m., I was sitting across from my attorney, staring at a stack of documents spread across his desk. At the top of the first page was Ryan's name. According to the filing, Ryan claimed he had financially helped me purchase the farm and was therefore entitled to a percentage of the property and any profits connected to it. The problem? It was a complete lie. My attorney slid several pages toward me. "Look at these signatures." The moment I saw them, my stomach dropped. Ryan had attached what appeared to be private loan agreements. My name was on every page. So was my signature. Except I had never signed them. "These are fake," I said quietly. "We know," my attorney replied. "But proving it will take time." I sat back in my chair, stunned. Ryan wasn't asking for money anymore. He was trying to take the farm itself. Over the following weeks, the situation exploded. Relatives called nonstop. Some begged me to settle. Others accused me of being selfish. Mom cried on the phone. Dad insisted I was destroying the family over a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding? Ryan had forged legal documents. Then came the final betrayal. During a court deposition, evidence revealed that Ryan hadn't acted alone. My father had provided statements supporting Ryan's claim. My own father. The man who taught me how to drive. The man I spent years trying to impress. He knew the documents were false and backed Ryan anyway. For a moment, I felt physically sick. But that feeling vanished when my attorney received new evidence. Bank records. Emails. Text messages. And together they revealed something devastating. Ryan and my father had planned the entire scheme months before filing the claim. They never intended to share my success. They intended to steal it. And now they had handed us the proof to destroy their case. The courtroom was silent when the judge reviewed the final evidence. Every email. Every bank record. Every text message. One by one, the truth came out. Ryan's forged documents were exposed. The signatures were proven fake by a forensic handwriting expert. Even worse, investigators discovered messages where Ryan openly discussed how to pressure me into giving up part of the farm. Then came the messages involving my father. Reading them felt like being punched in the chest. He knew the paperwork was fraudulent from the beginning. He simply believed family loyalty would force me to surrender before the case ever reached trial. He was wrong. The judge dismissed Ryan's ownership claim completely and ordered him to pay substantial legal costs. The court also referred the forged documents for further investigation. When the hearing ended, Ryan tried to approach me outside. For the first time in his life, he looked defeated. "Ethan, please," he said. "I never wanted it to go this far." I looked at him for a long moment. "You started this the moment you decided my success belonged to you." Then I walked away. That was 2 years ago. Today, the farm is thriving. The solar lease provides steady income, the land remains in my name. And the old farmhouse has been completely restored. I still wake up before sunrise. I still walk the fields. The difference is that now I do it in peace. My parents occasionally send messages. Ryan has tried reaching out several times. I wish them well, but I keep my distance. Because the biggest lesson wasn't about money or land. It was about self-respect. For years, I thought family meant sacrificing everything to keep others happy. Now I know better. Real family celebrates your success. They don't mock it when you're struggling and claim it when you're winning. I didn't beat my family. I simply stopped letting them write my story. And that changed everything.